Restaurant owner feeds homeless daily. One day, a VIP diner changes everything with a gesture that transforms lives forever. The morning light spilled into Alaric's small kitchen, bringing with it the warm and inviting scent of fresh bread. It filled his heart with purpose. He took a deep breath, letting the aroma wash over him, grounding him in the moment. Today was just like any other day at Sabor da Esperanza, but Alaric felt an electric thrill in the air, as if something significant was about to unfold. As he kneaded the dough, his mind wandered to the faces of his regular customers. Each one had a story, a struggle that brought them through the doors of his little restaurant. There was Clara, with her gentle smile, who always thanked him for the hearty soup on cold days. Then there was Marco, whose laughter echoed through the space, lifting the spirits of those around him. Alaric cherished these connections, knowing that his food provided solace in a city filled with hardship. Later in the day, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows that danced across the walls, Alaric prepared to open the doors for the evening. This was the time he looked forward to most, the time when he could serve those in need. He ladled steaming soup into bowls, the rich aroma swirling through the air like a warm hug. With each bowl he served, he offered not just food, but warmth and compassion. It was a ritual that created an inclusive atmosphere, a safe haven for anyone who walked through his doors. The sound of footsteps echoed outside, and Alaric paused, a sudden tension gripping his heart. He opened the door to find Victor standing there, his once best friend, now a shadow of the person he used to know. The sight of him stirred memories both sweet and bitter. "Alaric," Victor's voice was rough, tinged with uncertainty. Can I come in?" Alaric hesitated, the weight of their past hanging in the air between them. He nodded slowly, stepping aside to let Victor enter. The moment their eyes met, a flood of emotions surged within Alaric: nostalgia, regret, and the painful reminder of dreams once shared. "I didn't expect to see you here," Alaric said, his voice barely above a whisper. Victor shifted uncomfortably, glancing at the bustling restaurant. "I didn't think I'd ever come back," he admitted. "But I'm struggling, Alaric." His gaze fell to the floor, a mixture of shame and vulnerability etched on his face. Alaric's heart ached. He remembered the dreams they had shared as kids, the plans to conquer the world together. But life had taken them down different paths. "What happened to you?" he asked gently, unsure if he truly wanted to know. Victor took a deep breath, the weight of his words heavy. "It's a long story, but I lost everything. My job, my family. Now, I'm just trying to survive." The honesty in Victor's voice tugged at Alaric's conscience. Could he really turn his back on his old friend? As Alaric poured a bowl of soup and handed it to Victor, he felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. "You can stay here for tonight," he offered, his voice firm. "We can figure things out together." Victor's eyes widened, the surprise evident. "You'd do that for me?" "Of course," Alaric replied, his resolve strengthening. But deep down, he grappled with the fear of exposing his own vulnerabilities. Could he help Victor without risking his own heart? The memories of their friendship weighed heavily on him, and he wondered if reopening old wounds would lead to healing or more pain. As the night deepened and the restaurant buzzed with laughter and conversation, Alaric felt the tension between him and Victor linger in the air. The past was a fragile thread that connected them, and the shadows of their shared history loomed large. Would they find a way to mend what was broken, or would the distance only grow wider? Alaric knew that this encounter was just the beginning, and the choices he made tonight could change everything. The air was thick with the scent of simmering soup, blending with the earthy aroma of fresh bread. Alaric stood behind the counter of Sabor da Esperanza, his heart still beating fast from the encounter with Victor. Memories flooded his mind, taking him back to a time when he and Victor were inseparable. They shared dreams of bright futures, laughter, and a bond that felt unbreakable. But the years had changed them both, and now that bond felt like a ghost, haunting him. Alaric wiped his hands on a towel, trying to shake off the bittersweet feelings. He could still hear Victor's voice echoing in his ears. "Alaric, I need help," Victor had said, his eyes filled with desperation. It struck a chord deep within Alaric. He wanted to help, but the fear of reopening old wounds made him hesitate. As he stirred the pot of soup, Alaric remembered the carefree days of their youth. "We'll conquer the world," Victor used to say, his face beaming with hope. They had plans, dreams to open a restaurant together, a place where everyone could feel welcome and loved. But dreams had faded, much like Victor's vibrant spirit, now overshadowed by the harsh reality of life on the streets. "Hey, Alaric!" A familiar voice pulled him from his thoughts. It was Isadora, one of his most loyal customers. "You seem lost in thought today. Everything okay?" Alaric forced a smile, but the weight on his heart lingered. "Just thinking about Victor," he admitted quietly. Isadora's expression softened. "It's tough to see someone you care about struggle, but you have the power to help him. You always have." "I know," Alaric sighed, looking down at the soup. "But helping him means facing my own past. I'm not sure I'm ready for that." "Sometimes facing the past is the only way to move forward," she said, her voice gentle but firm. Alaric appreciated her wisdom, but fear gripped his heart. What if he opened up and found nothing but pain? As the evening approached, the restaurant began to fill with warm chatter and laughter. Alaric watched as his regular customers found comfort in the food he prepared. Each smile reminded him of why he had opened this place: to create a community, a safe haven for those who needed it most. Then, just as he served a bowl of soup to an elderly man, he saw Victor again. He stood at the entrance, looking thin and weary, yet there was a flicker of determination in his eyes. Alaric's heart raced. This was the moment. Could he really reach out? "Victor," Alaric called, motioning him over. "Come in. I've saved you a bowl." Victor hesitated for a moment and then stepped inside. "Thanks, Alaric. I've been thinking a lot since we last talked." The two men stood facing each other, a chasm of unspoken words between them. Alaric felt his throat tighten. "I'm glad you came," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "How have you been?" Victor sat at the counter, his hands trembling slightly as he picked up the bowl. "Not great. I've been living day by day. It's hard to see a way out." "Are you looking for a way back?" Alaric asked, hopeful yet cautious. "I want to," Victor replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "I want to get back on my feet, but I need help." His eyes searched Alaric's face, seeking understanding. Alaric felt a surge of emotions. "I want to help you, but I'm scared. I don't want to lose what we had. What if I can't fix this?" Victor took a deep breath, his gaze steady. "It's not about fixing anything. It's about being there for each other. We've been through so much. I can't face this alone." The weight of Victor's words settled heavily in the air. Alaric realized that their shared history was not just a burden, it was also a bridge. "Okay," he said, finally, his voice firm. "Let's figure this out together." Victor's face lit up with a flicker of hope. "Really? You mean it?" "Yeah," Alaric nodded, feeling a sense of purpose returning. "We'll find a way, I promise." As the night wore on, Alaric felt a newfound determination. The road ahead would not be easy, but with Victor by his side, perhaps they could reclaim the dreams they once shared. The warmth of the soup in front of them felt like a small step towards healing, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope could still be found. The evening sun cast a golden hue over Sabor da Esperanza as Alaric stood behind the counter, kneading dough. The familiar scent of fresh bread filled the air, bringing a sense of comfort and purpose. He could hear the clatter of dishes and the soft murmur of conversations between his loyal customers. Each face that came through the door told a story, a reminder of the community that had formed in the heart of the struggling city. Just as Alaric finished shaping the last loaf, The bell above the door chimed, announcing a new arrival. He looked up to see Celeste, the renowned food critic, stepping into his restaurant. Her presence was both intimidating and intriguing. Alaric's heart raced as he wiped his hands on his apron, unsure of how to feel. "Good evening," Celeste said, her voice smooth yet commanding. She scanned the room, her sharp eyes taking in every detail. "I've heard a lot about your work here." Alaric smiled nervously, his mind racing. He had dreamed of a positive review, thinking it could bring more people to his restaurant. But at what cost? He could not shake the feeling that her visit might threaten the very essence of what he was trying to build. "Thank you, Celeste. We aim to create a welcoming space for everyone," he replied, forcing confidence into his words. As Celeste observed him, her gaze fell on Victor, who was sitting at a corner table, his head bowed. Alaric felt a pang of anxiety. The emotional tension between him and Victor was palpable, and he wondered how Celeste would interpret their relationship. Would she see this as a story of hope, or would she write it off as a distraction from his culinary skills? "Tell me about your menu," Celeste prompted, her pen poised above her notepad. Alaric took a deep breath. "We focus on fresh, seasonal ingredients, and I try to incorporate dishes that speak to the community," he explained, glancing at Victor, who was now looking up, his eyes filled with uncertainty. "The soup we serve at night is a staple. It brings warmth to those who need it most," Alaric added, hoping to convey the heart behind his work. Celeste's expression softened slightly. "That's commendable. But do you ever feel torn between your mission and the desire for recognition?" "It's a tricky balance." Alaric paused, a lump forming in his throat. "Every day," he admitted, the weight of his dilemma pressing down on him. "I want to help those in need, but I also want my restaurant to succeed. Sometimes it feels like they are at odds with each other." "Would a positive review change your approach?" Celeste asked, her eyes narrowing in curiosity. Before Alaric could respond, Isadora entered the scene, her presence a breath of fresh air. She approached Alaric with a warm smile. "Hey, I was just thinking about our discussion on hosting a charitable event. It could really help bring awareness." Alaric's heart raced at the thought. "An event? I don't know. What if it distracts us from our true purpose?" Isadora placed a hand on his shoulder, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "But think about it, Alaric. It could bring together the community and help those who need it most. We can make it about compassion, not just profit." Celeste, intrigued by their conversation, leaned in. "That's an interesting idea. An event that combines your culinary skills with a charitable cause could draw attention and provide real benefits." Alaric felt torn. The idea sparked a flicker of hope, yet he feared it would divert him from his mission. "I need to think about it," he finally said, looking back at Victor, who sat silently, lost in thought. "Whatever you decide, Alaric, just remember why you started this journey." Victor spoke up, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "You've always cared about helping others. Don't lose sight of that." In that moment, Alaric felt a connection between them, a reminder of the bond they once shared. He looked at Victor and then back to Isadora, who stood ready to support him. "I'll consider the event," he said at last, his heart pounding. "But I want it to reflect our mission. No compromises." With that, the atmosphere in the restaurant shifted. Alaric felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that whatever decision he made would not just affect him, but the entire community he had come to cherish. As the sun rose, casting a warm glow over Sabor da Esperanza, Alaric felt a mix of excitement and dread. Today was the day of the fundraising event. He stood in the kitchen, the familiar scent of fresh bread filling the air, but this time it was different. Instead of joy, he felt a weight on his shoulders. "What if it all goes wrong?" he muttered to himself, kneading the dough with a hint of frustration. "Worrying won't help, Alaric," Isadora said, entering the kitchen with a bright smile. "This event can bring so much good. Just think of the people we can help." Alaric nodded, but his mind was racing. I just don't want to lose sight of why we started this place, he replied, glancing at the bustling dining area. It feels like we're turning compassion into a show. Isadora understood his concerns. You're right to think that way. But remember, more people could come to help if they see what we're doing. It's not just about the money. It's about spreading awareness. With a deep breath, Alaric pushed his worries aside. He had agreed to the event, hoping it could create a positive change for the homeless. Just then, Victor walked in, carrying a box of fresh vegetables. Hey chef, ready to make some magic happen? Victor said, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Alaric smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. You bet. What do you have in mind for the dish? I thought we could do a twist on that old recipe we used to love. You know, the one with the roasted veggies and herbs? Victor suggested, his voice filled with hope. Exactly. That would be perfect, Alaric replied, his heart swelling at the thought of working together again. Let's do it. As they chopped and stirred, the kitchen filled with laughter and a sense of camaraderie. Alaric felt the weight lifting as he and Victor shared stories of their past. Remember when we tried to open that lemonade stand? Victor chuckled, shaking his head. We barely made a dime. Alaric laughed. Yeah, but we had the best lemonade in the neighborhood at least. Their laughter echoed through the kitchen, and for a moment, it felt like old times again. Alaric appreciated the bond they were rebuilding, one dish at a time. As the event approached, the restaurant buzzed with activity. Tables were set, and volunteers arrived, ready to help. Alaric took a moment to step outside, taking in the vibrant energy around him. Isadora joined him, her eyes scanning the crowd. Look at all these people, she said, her voice soft. They care. They want to be part of something good. It's amazing, Alaric agreed, watching families and friends gather. But a flicker of anxiety still tugged at him. I just hope we don't lose our focus. This isn't just a party. I know, Isadora said, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. But it's okay to celebrate the good we can do. You're doing something important, Alaric. As the event unfolded, laughter and conversations filled the air. Alaric moved from table to table, greeting guests and sharing the story behind his restaurant. But amidst the joy, he felt an undercurrent of worry. I hope this doesn't become just another trend, he whispered to Victor later in the evening. Victor looked at him, his expression serious. You have to trust yourself. Whatever happens, you're still doing the right thing. Just look at the smiles around you. Alaric nodded, taking a moment to absorb Victor's words. The event was more than he had anticipated. People were connecting, sharing stories, and learning about the struggles of the homeless community. As the night drew on, a gentle silence fell over the room when Alaric took the stage to share his thoughts. Thank you all for being here tonight. This event is not just about raising money, it's about understanding each other, helping those who need it most, and building our community. The crowd erupted in applause, and Alaric felt a swell of pride. In that moment, he realized that despite his fears, they were creating something beautiful. As the evening came to a close, Alaric looked at Victor and Isadora, a sense of unity enveloping them. No matter what happens next, I'm glad we did this together. Victor smiled, his eyes shining with renewed hope. Me too, Alaric. This is just the beginning. And in the heart of Sabor da Esperanza, surrounded by laughter and warmth, Alaric felt a spark of something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. The evening air buzzed with excitement as the fundraising event reached its climax. Alaric stood behind the counter, his heart racing. The room was filled with laughter, the smell of delicious food, and the chatter of people coming together for a good cause. Yet, amidst the joy, a shadow loomed. Celeste, the food critic, sat at a table with her notepad poised, ready to capture every moment. Alaric wiped his hands on his apron, glancing nervously in her direction. He felt her critical gaze pierce through the lively atmosphere. Will she focus on the food or on me? He thought. The weight of her presence pressed heavily on his shoulders. Alaric! Isadora called out, breaking his thoughts. She approached him, her smile bright against the evening gloom. The guests love the soup. You've done amazing work tonight. He forced a smile, but his mind was elsewhere. Thanks, Isadora, but what if they only care about how I serve them? What if I lose sight of why we are really here? Isadora noticed the worry in his eyes. You have to remember, Alaric, this event is about more than just the food. It is about hope, community, and helping those in need. Just then, Victor walked in, his face brightened by the energy of the room. He was no longer the shadow of a man Alaric had met on the street. Tonight, he wore a clean shirt and a confident smile. Alaric, he called, his voice full of life. Thank you for letting me help tonight. It feels good to be here. Alaric felt a surge of warmth in his chest. You look great, Victor, really. How are you feeling? I feel like I am becoming myself again, Victor said, his eyes shining. Helping with the cooking, seeing everyone enjoy the food, it reminds me of who I used to be. I want to keep this feeling. Alaric nodded, understanding the weight of those words. You can, you know. We can make this happen together. As they spoke, Celeste's eyes narrowed, watching them closely. Alaric could sense her judgment, and it made him uneasy. The thought of receiving a glowing review from her felt like a double-edged sword. What if she sees us as just a show? He worried silently. Let her watch, Victor said, as if reading Alaric's mind. What matters is what we are doing for these people. If she cannot see that, it is her loss. Alaric took a deep breath, letting Victor's words settle in his heart. The crowd swelled with enthusiasm, and Alaric caught snippets of heartfelt conversations, laughter, and even tears. Each moment reminded him of the true value of this gathering. Later, as the event began to wind down, Alaric found himself standing next to Victor, both of them watching the guests mingle. You know, Alaric started, I have been thinking a lot about us, about our past. Victor turned to face him, a thoughtful expression on his face. Me too. We were so close, and then everything changed. I hurt you, Alaric. I am sorry for that. Alaric felt a lump in his throat. We both made choices. I lost you, and I lost part of myself in the process. But tonight, seeing you here, I feel like maybe we can find a way back. Victor smiled, a mix of hope and regret. We can forgive each other. It starts here, tonight. No more hiding or running away. A sudden cheer rose from the crowd, and Alaric turned to see a group of guests applauding. He felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. In that moment, he realized the true essence of the event, to bring people together, to create a sense of belonging. Celeste's notepad remained in her lap, her expression unreadable, but Alaric was no longer concerned about her judgment. He had made his choice. Tonight is not about fame, he whispered to Victor, but about this community and the love we share. Let's keep working on this together. Victor nodded, determination shining in his eyes. Together, we can change lives. Alaric smiled, feeling a sense of clarity wash over him. As he looked around the room, he knew that, regardless of what Celeste might write, the heart of Sabor da Esperanza beat strong and true. As the evening drew near, the air in Sabor da Esperanza buzzed with a vibrant energy. Alaric stood in the kitchen, surrounded by the familiar sounds of sizzling pans and the soft chatter of his team. He felt a sense of clarity wash over him, a feeling that had been absent during the chaos of the fundraising event. Tonight, he would embrace his mission fully, and he knew that supporting Victor was the path he needed to take. Are you ready for tonight? Isadora asked, stepping into the kitchen with a warm smile. She had been a constant source of encouragement for Alaric, and her presence always brought him comfort. More than ever, Alaric replied, his voice steady. I want to make sure Victor knows he has a place here, that he is not alone. Isadora nodded, her eyes sparkling with understanding. That's what makes you special, Alaric. You care deeply about your community. It shows in everything you do." As they prepared the evening's meal, Alaric could hear the laughter of the regular customers mingling with the new faces that had joined them after the event. This diverse crowd represented the heart of the restaurant, a melting pot of stories and struggles, all united by a common need for compassion and warmth. When the clock struck 7, Alaric took a deep breath and stepped into the dining area. He scanned the room, and his gaze landed on Victor, who sat at a table, a hint of hope in his eyes. Alaric felt a surge of determination. He walked over to Victor, who was deep in conversation with another patron. "Hey Victor," Alaric said, his voice gentle but firm. "How are you feeling tonight?" Victor looked up, a small smile breaking across his face. "I'm okay, Alaric. I've been thinking about everything that happened during the event. It felt good to be part of something again." "I'm glad to hear that," Alaric said, pulling up a chair. "You belong here. This place is for everyone, especially those who need it the most." Victor's expression softened, and he nodded. "I want to help more. I want to be part of this community, to give back, just like you do." Alaric felt a swell of pride. "Then let's work together. I need your help in the kitchen. We can create something special for tonight's guests." "Really?" Victor's eyes widened with excitement. "I'd love that." As they moved back to the kitchen together, Alaric felt a renewed bond forming between them. Working side by side, they prepared a hearty vegetable soup, each chop of the knife echoing their shared history. With every stir of the pot, Alaric felt the weight of the past lifting, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. Meanwhile, Isadora watched them from the doorway, her heart warmed by the sight. She could see the transformation in Victor, a man who had once been lost, now finding his place again. She stepped forward, joining them in the kitchen. "Can I help?" she asked, her enthusiasm infectious. "Of course," Alaric replied, grateful for her presence. "We could use your expertise with the seasoning." As they worked together, laughter filled the air. Victor began to share stories from his childhood, reminiscing about the dreams he and Alaric once had. It was a moment of healing, a bridge being built over the chasm of their past. "Remember when we dreamed of opening our own restaurant?" Victor said, his voice light with nostalgia. "It feels amazing to be part of something like this." Alaric smiled, a warmth spreading through him. "We may not have our own place yet, but we are creating something beautiful here." As the night progressed, the dining area filled with the aroma of their soup, and the laughter continued to rise. People were coming together, sharing their stories, and finding comfort in each other's company. Alaric looked around, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. This was what Sabor da Esperanza was all about. Victor stood at the serving counter, ladling soup into bowls with newfound confidence. "I can't believe how many people are here," he said, glancing at Alaric. "This feels incredible." "It is incredible," Alaric agreed, his heart swelling with pride. "This is our true flavor of hope. It's not about the reviews or recognition, it's about the connections we create." As the evening came to a close, Alaric gathered the team for a moment of reflection. "Thank you all for your hard work tonight. This is more than just food. It's about love and community. Together, we are making a difference." Victor smiled at Alaric, his eyes shining with gratitude. "I'm ready to keep moving forward, Alaric. Thank you for believing in me." Alaric felt a profound sense of joy. They had created something special that night, a renewed family bound by love, hope, and the promise of a brighter future. In that moment, he understood that the true essence of Sabor da Esperanza lay not in accolades, but in the love and solidarity they fostered together. Share this story if you believe that love can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about how an unexpected visit has changed your life, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one.